Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody else, this is John Perivale with Access Arts Live's weekly report on chamber and contemporary music live stream action for the week of October 27th to November 2nd, 2025. We're already moving into the wintertime. I've got on one of my winter sweaters, folks, to keep me warm here in Paris, France, where the temperature has been descending. Listen, we have a lot to tell you about today, almost a dozen, I think, different kinds of chamber music and contemporary music live streams, everything from early music to traditional classic music to theatrical concoctions or artistic productions, combining literature with music or literature with acting and performing. So it's a great week for you. Before I go any further, let me remind you, if you're watching this on Facebook, please like the video. If you're watching on any of our other platforms, we're happy that you like our videos, but what we want you to do is follow and or subscribe. It's free of charge to Access Arts Live on YouTube, X, TikTok, Instagram, Threads, or LinkedIn. So we can continue to make sure you get up to 1,000 live performances per year. How about that? Now, having said that, let us get on to the business at hand and the many live streams where I'm here to tell you about. Starting with this first one. As soon as my notes are in order. Wednesday, October 29th, March Vivo continues its series on Schumann as poet and novelist, with pianist Severin von Eckardstein playing works of Schumann which were specifically inspired by literature: Papillon, Chrysleriana, Waldscenen, and Novelette. That's at the usual Wednesday time of 6:30 in the evening here in Europe, which will be 1:30 in the afternoon on the East Coast and 10:30 in the morning on the West Coast. These specific works that I've been telling you about: Papillon, which is Opus 2, Chrysleriana, Opus 16, Waldscenen, which means wood scenes, literally, Opus 82, and Novelette are the pieces that Severin will be playing. Papillon is directly inspired by Jean-Paul's novel, The Age of Adolescence. Chrysleriana is recreating the character of Johannes Chrysler, who was first imagined by E.T.A. Hoffmann. Waldscenen, Scenes from the Forest, is depicting landscapes of nature. I'm not sure exactly how that's literary, but it's sort of telling the story of the forest, you could say. So that's what March Vivo offers in this continuing series about different ways of exploring the very literary aspects of Robert Schumann as a poet and novelist composing music. But there are several other events going on Wednesday that we want to tell you about. It's a big day. I think we have 4 different live stream performances on Wednesday, but they're not all at the same time. So you can just sit down at a certain point of time and spend the rest of your day live streaming. And there are people who do this, folks. I know them, certain. I'm familiar with some of them. I see them online all the time. So let's take the next one. Folk music enthusiasts and followers of what's called the Celtic diaspora can tune into the Kennedy Center live stream Wednesday, October 29th to enjoy Le Vent du Nord, the North Wind, a Quebecois group playing accordions, guitars, fiddle, and hurdy-gurdy progressive francophone folk music. That's right. We sometimes talk about folk and world music here at Access Arts Live. That's at the usual time, 6 in the evening in Washington, D.C., 3 o'clock on the West Coast, 11 o'clock in the evening here in Europe, and 8 o'clock the next morning down under in Australia. This group, Le Vent du Nord, was founded over 20 years ago, and they've done over 2,000 concerts on four continents. They've won Canadian Grammy Awards. They've been named Artist of the Year at the North American Folk Alliance annual gala at least once. The Boston Herald says, featuring button accordion, guitar, and fiddle, the band's sound is defined by the hurdy-gurdy, which adds an earthy, rough-hewn flavor to even the most buoyant dance tunes, unquote. We're very familiar with this kind of music in Sweden, where I spend about half my time. I'm sure this will be a fun, lively concert on Wednesday from the Kennedy Center. But there's more. There's at least two more concerts to tell you about, live streams on Wednesday. And the next one is very now music. And I don't have a photo for you for the next one, although it's a fascinating concert. So let me just tell you about it. Take down the photo, you just get to look at me. And the microphone sticking in the right-hand corner, and my little boat for traveling there, and the map. Anyway, and there's a map of Sweden over there. We got everything here, folks. International. Lovers of now music, look at this. Wednesday night in New York City, a new music group, The Rise of the Novel, or TRON, performs contemporary works by clarinet virtuoso John Carter, AACM polymath George Lewis, the sound mapper Anea Lockwood, and the ensemble member herself, Wendy Eisenberg. I couldn't find a picture of them. They're brand new. I found pictures with like writing all over it, but I can't use that here. This is their first inaugural concert. They are dedicated to prioritizing the spontaneity of music. In other words, when I say now music, that's in two words, the same thing. So, and the group is composed of Nate Woolley on the trumpet, Laura Cox on the flute, Travis LaPlante, tenor saxophone, Wendy Eisenberg on guitar, Lester St. Louis on the cello, and they have some guests along, Jessica Pavone on the viola, Tara Kozane singing, Maria Maurice on violin and electronics. So here's what they say is, we believe that some of the most exciting music of our time gives space to the performer to exercise the taste and sensitivity obtained from years of artistic practice, that opens up space for the communal and collaborative, and that believes that the greatest complexity comes from people working together on a common goal. Well, hats off to you. I'm very big into now music. If you want to discover, this is so now, the whole group is now. It never was before. Check it out. You now music enthusiast. But that's not all. There's still one more. There is yet a fourth group to tell you about. And I do have a photograph taken from a concert they did a year ago. Although the way they describe themselves doesn't necessarily correspond to it, but this is why I'm showing them in a chamber music context, although they call themselves an orchestra. Okay, Wednesday, October 29th, the Press Start Orchestra presents its concert called Haunted Halls. This is music from the gaming video sector. It'll be at 7 o'clock in New York, in Brooklyn, 4 o'clock in LA, midnight here in Europe, and 9 o'clock Thursday morning down under in Australia. This is the third concert of the Press Start Orchestra. It comes from Press Start. Okay, like on the computer, you press start to turn it on or to turn on a video game. And they are New York City's first community video game orchestra. But as you see from this concert, I pulled that shot there from a concert they did on YouTube a year ago. It looks more like a chamber orchestra. Anyway, they're going to be doing music surrounding gaming like Luigi's Mansion. They're going to be playing the finale to Camille Saint-Saëns' organ symphony, which they heard at the reopening of the Notre Dame Cathedral. I love the whole symphony, by the way. I adore that. So maybe we have something in common. They're joined by the Otaku Choir, and the Otaku Choir is a new ensemble devoted to singing the emotional music from anime and video games. I've always known that their imagery is really high class, but I don't know their music, so this is a chance to discover it. And they'll be covering music from games like Super Smash Brothers, Brawl, Deltarune, and Castlevania. I don't know any of that stuff, but it sounds like it could be an awful lot of fun to discover it. Free of charge. Everything I'm telling you about is free of charge. Okay, now, then Thursday, something completely different, completely the opposite, and we move in the direction of early music rather than now music. But many people who are enthusiasts for early music are also enthusiasts for now music, bookending from before and after the major mainstream classical tradition. Thursday, October 30th, Midtown Concerts live streams Filament, the Philadelphia-based period instrument soloist, playing selected organ works by the Bachs, which they have adapted to their trio configuration. That'll be at the usual 1:15 Eastern Daylight Time concert time for Midtown Concerts and corresponding times in LA and in Europe. Filament was formed in 2019. They're based in Philadelphia. They've been doing things like exploring Elizabethan song, exploring the music of 18th century Parisian salons, music from 17th century northern Germany. And this one is Johann Sebastian Bach composed certain works for organ so that his son, Wilhelm Friedemann Bach, could learn how to play brilliantly. And what they have done is adapted them. It's Trio Sonata in C major, BWV 529, Trio Sonata in E minor, BWV 528, and Trio Sonata in D minor, BWV 527. It's Evan Few on the violin, Elena Kaufman on the viola da gamba, and John Waldhausen, or Waldhausen in the German pronunciation, on the harpsichord. Early music, but newly devised for the configuration of this trio. Check it out. And then we move on to Friday. And Friday it's Cantoría. A la fiesta zagales, or let's have a party, guys. An early music party, you could say. Friday, October 30th, Wigmore Hall hosts and live streams the Spanish vocal ensemble Cantoría, doing that with Spanish Baroque jacaras and villancicos, or villancicos. That's at 9 in the evening, European time, 4 o'clock on the East Coast, 1 o'clock on the West Coast. These were songs that were used back in the Baroque times to entice people to come to church or at theaters or in dances. The group Cantorías was founded in 2016, a decade ago, at the International Festival of Early Music in Sierra Espuña. And they are backed up by an ensemble playing period instruments. They're playing a number of pieces by José de San Juan, for those who know these Spanish Baroque composers, pieces by José de Torres, by Joan Serrerols, by Juan Batista Comes, by Sebastián Durón, and by Mateo Romero. It sounds like another really fun concert this week. How often do you get to have fun with Baroque parties? Check it out. It's a big group. Next up, we have something that I usually don't talk about here, but I'll bring it up briefly because it's March Vivo, and I always talk about what they're doing. Can the classics be played as jazz? Saturday, November 1st, March Vivo launches a 5-part series where various musicians will try to do exactly that, starting with pianist Georg Vogel and vocalist Leah Pales. That's at noon in European time, their usual time. What they'll be doing is this series is going to take the classical repertoire from the Renaissance to the 20th century and redo it in a jazz key. Not just jazzing it up, but sort of reinventing this music. So there'll be a number of pieces from Schubert's Winterreise, Brahms, Schumann, and those it's Schubert, Brahms, Schumann, and and they're very Germanic, from things like the Winterreise and all of that. Which is, I always preferred the Die schöne Müllerin. Das Wandern ist das Müllers Lust. Das Wandern. Okay, moving on. You'll have to answer that question. I can't answer it for you. We have 3 more live streams to tell you about. Next one was with Dario Cervera. Sunday's artist in March Vivo's Young Performer series is Dario Cervera, the Valencian harpsichordist. He's playing the pieces from Ravel's Le Tombeau de Couperin alongside works by Couperin himself and Couperin's 18th century colleagues. What a great idea. Some of these young performers, they come up with really interesting stuff. He's Spanish, but he trained in Estonia and in Paris at the Conservatoire of Music and Dance in Paris. And he's been giving recitals in Paris, Valencia, Helsinki, at the Arvo Part Center. You know, Finland and Estonia are close. You make contacts in either country, you're going to have contacts in either country. Anyway, Le Tombeau de Couperin, it was these 6 pieces which Maurice Ravel wrote, which were less of a dedication to Couperin than they were dedicated to 7 friends of his who died in World War I. But anyway, it looks great. And so he'll play the Pavane de la Belle au Bois Dormant from Mother Goose by Ravel, and then he'll play Tombeau de Monsieur de Blanc-Crochet by Couperin, etc. So he's cutting up and back between Ravel and Couperin and people like Francis Thomé, Manuel de Falla, Eugène Antoulon, other 18th century authors. Génial, as the French would say. Also on Sunday, a little later in the day. Sunday, November 2nd at 4 in the afternoon European time, St. Mary's Perivale presents and live streams An Exquisite Harmony, a piece about the life, loves, and music of Robert and Clara Schumann and Johannes Brahms. This is by Christopher Kent and Sarah Sherborne, who are actors, and Gamil Kamas on the piano. They have performed this before. They first created this piece back in 2022, and Christopher Kent and Gamil Kamas have made an entire sort of industry out of putting together pieces like this, combining histories or cultural or literary stories and music. And what happened here was, after Schumann tried to commit suicide in 1854, he was committed to an asylum. His wife was left alone with 6 children, and young Johannes Brahms had just been introduced to the family, and thereby lies the tale. I'm not going to tell you the rest. Tune in and check it out and enjoy it. Christopher Kent is a well-known actor who's done Shakespeare and contemporary theater. Gamil Kamas has well, he was 10 years old, I think, when he first played at Wigmore Hall. And then it was onward and upward, if there's anywhere upward from Wigmore Hall. And Sarah Schaborn is a very well-known television actor in England. So a good crew putting this together. Then I have one more to tell you about. And it's a good one. Sunday, November 2nd, Philadelphia Chamber Music Society live streams Philadelphia's own Jasper Quartet, along with flautist Juliette Corentin. That'll be at 3 o'clock in Philadelphia, which will make it noon on the West Coast, and 8 in the evening here in Europe. They will be playing Britten's Three Divertimenti, Franck's and Andean Walkabout, Stubblefield's Music, Opus 27. This is a Philadelphia Chamber Music Society commission, and it's the world premiere. And also a U.S. premiere of Wallen's All the Blues I See. Don't you just love the way contemporary chamber music, it's not like, string quartet number 3 in F minor. It's, All the Blues I See, or things like that. The Jasper Quartet is they've been high. I could read you some high praise in the gramophone calls them expressively assured and beautifully balanced. And when it comes to Juliette Corentin, the flautist, who's joining them, did I put the picture up for you? Yes. Good. I did that. I remember that. She is known for, quote, bold and dramatically characterized playing. That's the Dallas Morning News. Philadelphia Inquirer, closer to home, says, a tone that draws in one's ear with sounds and ideas that simply cannot be resisted. The Jasper Quartet, it's very familial. It's there's Rachel Henderson Freivogel and her sister. Rachel is on the cello, her sister's on the violin, Andrew Gonzalez on the viola, and I think he's married to one of them. And I can't remember which one, because I first looked them up this summer. They were very active at the Bowdoin Chamber Music Festival this past summer. And they first were formed 20 years ago when they were all at Oberlin together. And then they became the quartet in residence at Rice University. And then they became the quartet in residence at Yale University. And then it was all just, onward and upward from there. So they're the artistic directors of the Jasper Chamber Concerts, which is a whole series of chamber concerts in Philadelphia. And they've just done an extensive amount of recordings, which have all been critically acclaimed. So a really fine, interesting combination of traditional music and very contemporary music, world premieres and American premieres by the Philadelphia Chamber Music Society. Hats off. Always interesting things from them. Folks, that's what we have for you this week. I know that if you tune in to some of these, you will have a good time, and others may uplift you and inspire you and lead you to experience moments of truth and beauty, such as you would not if you had not tuned in. I will remind you before I go, please, if you're watching this on Facebook, like the video. If you watch us on any of your other favorite platforms, don't just like the video, though we're glad you do. Please subscribe to and or follow Access Arts Live free of charge on YouTube, X, TikTok, Instagram, Threads, and or LinkedIn, so we can continue to make sure you get more than 1,000 live links to high quality live performances online like all of these, free of charge. So that's it for this week. I may be back on Friday to do a weekend highlights. If not, I'll be back next week with more of the same. Have a great one.